Topic, you, Baba, then and now. Dear folks of Baba, recently at our Spring Cleaning Sahavas at the center, a question for one of the discussion groups was, how has your relationship changed from your early years with Baba till now? Here are some questions that might be helpful to consider. Did you come to Baba more or less instantly, or was it a slow, evolving process that took place over years? How did you relate to Baba in those formative years? And what notions did you have about what life with him would be like? What assumptions did you have in following Baba that are different from what you experience now? Were the early times ones of bliss, the honeymoon? And how over the years has your inner experience changed? How did you remember Baba back then? And what is your remembrance of him today? How has your inner life unfolded, and has it become more personal? Did you spend time with the mandali and those who met Baba? And what influence did that have on you? Were Baba's writings instrumental in deepening your relationship with him? How has Baba helped you with your weaknesses and shortcomings? How has that affected your experience of yourself? How much have you been able to overcome worry? Given Baba's admonition, don't worry, be happy. Don't feel you have to answer all of these questions in your sharing. There may be some aspects that stand out more in your before with Baba and your after with him. Don't feel in your sharing you have to be all comprehensive. In his love, Jeff.
So yeah, it's quite a huge thing. I didn't know where I would begin with this myself when I considered it. Um, but I don't know if there's anybody that wants to venture out into the open seas. Um, I don't know if Marcia's hand is up from last time or whether she's ready to go.
It was open from last time, but I guess I can go. Can you just repeat the question again?
Well, how was it with your life with Baba in the beginning, and how has it evolved to where it is now?
Well,
Um,
it's completely different. I had trouble. I always knew God when I was young. I always prayed, and then I went to college and started reading different people, Gertrude, and then I decided maybe to become a Jews for Jesus. And then I heard about Baba, but I didn't pay attention until I met a person that had been to India 20 times prior to, and I would go to her house after we, I quit teaching school to become a waitress because I didn't want to work when my daughter was young. So I would go to her house after work, and she had Baba pictures all over, and one of them in particular caught my eye. But I didn't really accept Baba as God because it was just something that I couldn't deal with. But over the years, I went to India and for Silence Day, and I saw Baba everywhere in the sky, and everybody said, "Oh, it's your Baba birthday," and I didn't know what that meant at first. But anyway, I came to him over the years slowly, and finally, just when I really 2 years ago surrendered to him, actually it was much better because I totally accept him as the avatar and that he's living within me, and I can feel that. Before he's always there, and I look at his picture, and I. But now I really kind of he lives inside us, and I feel that connection very intensely now, and sometimes I'm get bumped in the head to bring me down. It's like, but I think you have to surrender to God and to really, and it's always like
Alexa,
walking on
stop.
the edge of a sword. It's really not easy. But I know that I, you, at the end of the day, I sleep pretty good, and whatever He gives to me, I accept it. There's a reason for it, and I stop trying to figure out what it is because he gives you what you need, but not what you want. So I'm going to stop there.
yeah, very nice. Thank you, Marcia. Yeah.
Rich.
I I second that. My experience is a lot like Marsha's. In the beginning, well, I knew that Meher Baba, he let me know that he was reality itself, that he was the avatar. But I was burdened with a great deal of trauma from what all the lifetimes of junk that I was dragging along with me. So I even made it worse myself, but he carried me along. And I've told my story, but in the past, especially since I got onto this Baba Zoom, but it appears that Baba is manifesting more aggressively to me than what I was ever aware of before. Um, I it feels like someone's in my heart sweeping out all the cobwebs, crushing a few spiders, kicking out the chameleons, and even if I'm attached to them, it doesn't matter. It's got to be done. And in the process, something that's really new to me, and it's really been going on the last 6 months very strongly, is weeping. I can't help myself when I feel Baba touch my heart in any way at all, through any form of thought, I start weeping from his presence. And I'm grateful for it, but it's kind of not something you want to do in public because, you know, but it's what I remember. I think Dr. Kenmore used this phrase, but not from the tears of self-sorrow, but from the tears of joy, something like that. You know what I mean?
Beautiful. Yeah. Wunderbar. Well said. Anyone else want to venture out into the choppy seas of illusion? Oh, good. And he's got Elena.
Well, I don't have a lot to say. In fact,
Uh-huh.
it can't be me then. It must be someone else. But no, I'm just trying to keep up with the present. I'm really with Baba. I'm just constantly trying to keep up with the present. It's like he keeps like there it is and there it is. Stay with it, stay with it, stay with it, and that's sort of what I'm doing. It's very different than in earlier days, where things seemed more methodical, a little bit more planned, a little bit more a storyline, good storyline. Now it's just keeping up with the present. I know what he wants me to do as usually, and get to it. Come on. But don't forget this, do this here, but don't forget that over there. Stand up, sit down, all of that.
So a very more present moment response to things as you go along, rather than thinking in terms of time and
Present moment response to Baba within,
yeah,
in the situation without. Yeah.
yeah, beautiful. Any other heroes and heroines?
I'd like to volunteer.
Go for it, Ralph.
When I learned of Baba, I got a poster. It was You and I Are Not We But One. And poster with big photo of Baba. And I showed it to my mom and she says, "Oh, he looks like Jerry Colonna, who was an actor." And that I didn't know. But I looked found it and look, this picture looked like Baba. And I put the poster up above my closet doors opposite the bed I slept in. So when I laid in bed, I'd be facing right toward the poster. And then that way Baba's picture would be before me when I went to sleep. And I would frequently, usually, because at the time I got the poster, I was also informed about Baba's invitation to come to Guru Prasad for his darshan. And so succeeded in, I didn't succeed. Kitty Davy got me on the list to go to for that occasion. And was actually living with my parents at the time and working to have enough money to make the trip. And so I recall prior to really getting access to how to find Baba or who he was, I had already heard of Baba in relation to his stance on drugs. And I'd been going to school in Texas and reading, started reading somehow got a hold of these crazy books about this Tibetan Lama, Lobsang Rampa, which were fantastic stories. I mean, I don't know. And I thought this was to be a yogi, So I was reading this stuff and taking it in hook, line, and sinker, I imagine. And he was big on astral traveling, leaving the body, and you could go see the North Pole and spy on all your neighbors. And I remember at times I would talk to Baba's photo and say, I have no idea what it's going to be to meet you. What am I? I don't know what to expect. And no response. And I said, do you do astral traveling? I said, Baba, I've never succeeded in it, but I can try, And that's kind of how things went. And then it faded into a blur and go to sleep. And so over the years, it takes a while, still finding out little by little about Bob, about God, and about God. Yeah. So
Yeah. And yeah, it's you don't have to do any astral traveling. You can just sit there in
yeah,
Texas.
that's kind of got into the background. Yeah. Now I do it all the time. I don't realize that I'm doing it all the time. Can't stay focused on keep the hammer on the nail for all the astral traveling. And
Let's see what Diane has to say there.
Yeah, Jay Baba.
Hey, Bob, thank you.
Jai Baba, and may I say happy Holi to all those people who feel the power of the light on us all that we so desperately need. I'm gonna try and make this 10-year-old story condensed, but I went to India because of her. She got turned on to Baba and started reading about him, even went so much as to put a photo of him on our dining room table and even put him in a frame, went that committed. And one day she woke up and said, I need to go to India. And I sat up in bed and went, oh shit. It was not on my bucket list. But I knew very clearly that I wasn't going to watch my wife or not watch my wife go through this incredible spiritual journey and not at least bear witness. So as we do in our relationship, we compromise. So we did 1 week of vacationing all around Rajasthan and then went to Pune we were there for Baba's birthday. This is in 2013. And then we were there in Mehrabad the next few days. And I kept saying, what are we going to do for 5 days? They don't have classes or lectures or wireless. And she said, the worst that will happen is we'll just read to each other and hold hands. So I said, okay. And we went there and we got up like good Babaites and got up at sunrise to walk to the Samadhi and stand in line. And it was probably more crowded because it was the day after Baba's birthday. And on the second day we were there, in the lunch area, somebody walked by and gave me a big smile and said, "Jai Baba, I saw you down at the Samadhi," and kept walking. And about 10 minutes later, the same thing happened with somebody else. Finally, when it happened on the third time, I said, "What does that mean you saw me at the Samadhi?" Because I didn't know what I was doing at the Samadhi. I would get on my hands and knees and say, "Baba, whoever you are, I have no idea, but I'm here to grace your space." And she stopped and she said, "Because you're glowing." And I got up and I walked out of the hallway and there was a mirror. I didn't recognize myself. I was glowing. And I didn't really know what that meant. My first book was Margaret Krask's book. And from then on, I've only gravitated to books of stories of people who experienced Baba or experienced the mandali. I don't resonate with the more intellectual, headier conversations, and I don't feel badly about that anymore. I also don't feel badly that I never got to meet the mandali, because we have people like Jeff and other wonderful people who got to meet the mandali and absorb their stories so much that he's able to tell them. So we have, in my mind, our own mandali. I was a lefty who listened to MSNBC all the time. That was the background music of my life. And I was an agnostic about God. And I was open, sure. But with Baba, I didn't know who he was. I felt kind of like on that high, and I did behavior mod. I acted as if I knew what I was doing. So I would ask Baba to come into my life. But it wasn't until Baba Zoom came and we got turned on to it in October of that year of 2020. And I have felt like the last 4 years has been like a boot camp for me. And for somebody who doesn't have the patience to sit and read a lot, because I'm at a computer all day and my peepers are really tired by the end of the day, having this dialogue like we're having tonight and many other opportunities and Zoom sessions, I feel like I meet the intersection of spirituality and psychology, and it has helped me understand and navigate my life in a way that has never happened. And I have been therapeutic all these decades, and I still am. But the spiritual part of this is so new to me. And turning things over to him and not feeling alone anymore has been all the change in the world. And some people have heard this story, so pardon me, but just a few months ago, I had planned my company's holiday party and we had a psychic come. And she was broad brushing the typical things, and I'm agnostic about psychic readers too. She was saying you're creative.
And this was like a really large gathering, right?
Yeah, we had 150 people. It was at a
Yeah.
beach club here in LA, and
Yeah.
lots of games and music and lots of food and lots of liquor, all that kind of stuff. But I went and sat with her before it got really crowded. So she's telling me these very generic things, and I'm thinking, oh boy, great. I'm glad I paid for this one. And I meant from the company, not from me personally. But then she said, and you're married, and you've only been married once, and that's true. And you have one child, and referred to it as a daughter, and that's correct. So I sat up a little straighter in my chair. And then she said, and now I see Mir Baba all around you. And I just about lost it. Nobody at my office knows about Mir Baba. It's not something I share. I'm in human resources, so I have to be chill about my private life. But for someone who would say active, have the faith that there was a Baba, I never understood what faith was until I was introduced to Baba. But now I have this image of Baba like coming over, like almost like Groucho Marx going, I'm over here, I'm over here, I'm over here, but I'm here. And that has changed my life. And so it has been a journey for me, for sure, that has definitely been incredible. I read something earlier today. I think it was on one of the home pages during before Baba's birthday, and it was that if you constantly walk in front of Baba and don't let him lead the way, you're blocking his help of taking you for the ride that you need to be on. I totally paraphrase that. The quote has not, probably is somewhat familiar with that. But this has been an incredible ride. I thank everybody here for just being here. There's some great new faces I haven't met. So hi, I'm Diane, my wife Terry. We live in Venice Beach, California. And do you want to, since you were the one that delivered me to Baba, you want to say anything?
I don't think so.
Okay, she's a little spent.
But-
We
yeah.
had boosters the other day that kind of took it out of us.
No, you spoke beautifully, so clearly, and yeah, excellent. I don't
Thank
know
you.
how, I'm just amazed at how beautifully everybody speaks, you know. Anybody else want to venture out? And it's hard, you know, we have so many
Actually, she
different.
wants to talk.
I want to show
Oh,
some.
yeah,
Sorry,
I want to show something.
sorry to interrupt you,
So
Joe.
I've been having a few days that haven't been that easy. And so this is what Baba did for me tonight.
This is outside. She got
Wait,
up
let me
just a
show
few
it.
minutes ago.
It's not showing the
The
color.
colors, here
Oh,
we
there
go.
it goes.
This is holy here in Venice Beach. The light is incredible. We're about a mile from the beach. So, and it had just rained. So this is, and the sun came out.
beautiful.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow.
Baba, these are the little
We have,
minor
she has one
miracles of
more,
Baba.
sorry,
Yeah.
Well, sorry.
because he was spotlighting us.
Oh,
Was that the clouds are in the shape of a cross? Is that what?
Oh,
no.
I don't
it is
know. Did you see
gorgeous.
that?
And it looks like Baba's tucked
Yeah.
tucked into that cloud looking
Yeah.
down.
Yep. The cloud like is his hair.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
That is so clear. Oh my gosh, that's beautiful.
Isn't it gorgeous?
These are the minor miracles that Baba does for
Mm-hmm.
our hearts. You know, they're small, but
But I need that to remind me, that's all. And when I need to be reminded, he does something spectacular and I remember.
yeah,
Mm.
lovely. Anyone else? I hate to call on Denine, but she always is very expressive about her journey. I don't know. What do you think, Denine?
Good evening, everybody.
Yeah.
Is the question the journey with God and with Baba? Is that what the question is?
Yeah.
I came on a little bit late.
And how it began and where you are now with all of that, you know?
My journey with the divine has gone from wanting to emulate people that were full of love and connected to God, starting with my grandmother, who was very spiritual and loving and caring and magnanimous. And I just wanted to be like her. I wanted to be near her. And then I wanted to be like her. And then from that, I began to pray like her. I asked her how to pray. And I learned from that experience that over time, I noticed as I got older that at first I prayed. What struck me about my grandmother was that she prayed for people every day and not just for herself. And I wanted to feel what that was like. And she prayed for me, even though I lived a state away, which as a little child, that felt like a big deal. Like, how could you even be thinking about me? And as my journey progressed, I remembered being like, I was a pretty happy kid. And I remember saying to God, well, thanks for everything, but I don't really have time to talk to you. Like everything's great. Everything's great right now. So thanks a lot. Thumbs up. But I'll get to you later, kind of thing. I'm sure I'll make time for you. And I remember like thinking I needed to make more time, but I didn't. And of course, like life brings you to challenges. And then I learned my relationship with God came through asking, asking and the ache for presence, and the ache for, I felt the distance. Part of my journey was feeling very close to God. And then part of it was feeling very distant, feeling the lack of presence. And having to understand that, like, and I remember being, where are you? Like he gave me moments. He gave me moments of connection, enough to desperately miss them when they were missing. And the belief that he wasn't there when I couldn't feel that feeling essence. And then it brought me down a path where I had to understand that God was present even if I couldn't feel it. And to thank God for these so-called absences that really weren't absences, because every time those absences occurred, when I prayed for connection, there'd be some kind of special message just for me. Like a moment would happen, or I'd be all alone somewhere and there'd be something just for me, like a gift that I knew was specifically speaking to me. And it would regenerate my knowing that God was always there. God was there and was there for me. And we had a relationship. And then I started wanting to foster that relationship. I realized that my own decision making, I didn't always make the right kind of decisions. My mind, I'm a smart kid, but didn't always, emotionally didn't always make those right decisions. And I started realizing I need to surrender to a higher vision for my life, because my own wisdom is not complete. And there came a point where I said to God, I don't want to make any more decisions without you. I want you to guide me. I want to surrender to you. I want to ask you first. Please help me ask you first before I do things. And then,
Can you tell us your age as you would go along, Denine?
I wish I could,
If you remember.
well, it was probably only about, I'm 57 right now, so probably about 5 or 6 years ago, I completely surrendered and said, I don't want to make any more decisions without you. I obviously am not doing it right. Like I am tripping over myself. I'm going into relationships that aren't working. My conditioning is leading me here, but I really need to be over here. And can you please help me, because I can't figure it out myself. And I remembered learning, part of that path was learning that, follow what feels good, follow what feels good, but not, there's an element to that wasn't clear in me because of my conditioning. What felt good was familiar sometimes, but wasn't always right, if that makes sense. So I had to learn that God is God's wisdom. I need to plug in. I need to be silent. I need to ask. I need to reflect. And eventually what's happened to me is I would have to say connected with suffering and connected with not everything. I've gone through honeymoon where there's been bliss, where there's been meditative bliss, and walking around seeing the wonder in everything, like everything is magical, everything is God. God is in everything and everyone, and just feeling this wonder of a child. And then also the absence of bliss, which has been the suffering. I've had experienced great suffering. And in that, I had to learn how to see God in the suffering, how to see that these experiences are deepening my absolute necessity and reliance and my love. It deepened my love because absolutely nothing else could fill the suffering. Like I could not, and somehow in some strange way within the suffering there was a joy in connecting with God. There was a holding, there was a presence, and somehow there was a strange mingling of pain and joy. I couldn't even explain it. I mean, I'm trying to, but it's really hard for me to explain. But God became everything. And it's at this point, it's the reason for life. God is the reason for life. God is everything to me. The beloved, and I do not. I struggle with the idea of God realization though, because I feel like I'm so much in need of something greater than me to hold me up, that to feel like I could realize and be God is beyond me. It's completely beyond me. I can't even go there. I need him too much. I need to cling. So I can't even imagine that. So I'm kind of more in like the mentor papa stage, of God, like, please hold me, please take care of me. And I guess that would sum it up.
But the amazing thing is that she was living, what, in upstate New York, was it? And she
Yes.
had this dream of coming to being in a kind of forest, lovely natural setting. And lo and behold, her parents live about, it turns out, about 1 mile north of here, or 2 miles north of here. And so
they knew nothing about the center. And when I prayed for spiritual community and the woods, when I came to live with them during COVID, or I came to rent from them during COVID, I was drawn to the center. The center just found me, and Baba called me, and the community spoke to me, the love coming from the community, where I had never had community. I probably left that out of my story. Most of my path has been very solo. I felt very isolated. In my path, I had a relationship with God, but I couldn't share it. I didn't know how to share it. I didn't have a place where people spoke about it the way I desperately craved. And finding this community felt like has felt like coming home, and it's safe to be a spiritually drawn person, like an aching person, you know, that, and everyone speaks about how Mayor crushes you, you know, there's the crushing that happens, and the breaking down of ego, and it all made sense. It was just, and part of my path is I had been always searching for how we're all one, you know, why are there different religions, and are we really separate, and why does the dogma separate us, but isn't there really union in everything? And then that was what Baba speaks about, is the beads on a string, and it just was a natural segue. So it's just, I had no idea when I came down here that I was going to find the next step in my journey. I thought I was coming down here from a series of failures, a series of things going wrong. And I had no idea that I would find home. So God is amazing. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you. Wonderful.
Welcome, Denine.
Thank you.
Welcome to the world's rejects. Here we are.
Exactly
Never
right.
mind.
I'm
Becoming
still
rejects,
curious
though.
how you encountered the center. Do you recall? I mean, you were driving by and saw the mailbox, or circle of friends in the shopping mall, or all of them?
The way I always tell it is I would drive, you know, on 17. There's the mall, of course, right across from the entrance. And I would always look toward the mall, right? It's like just a natural, it's a big monstrosity and a big sign. And I would always look in that direction. And then one time I was stopped at that light. I think it was Astrid, for those of you who know. A woman was working on flowers in front of the center. And so my eyes were drawn to this woman doing flowers where the woods, I'd never even looked over there. And then all of a sudden I see this woman doing flowers, and then I see Mayor's Spiritual Center. And I'm like, what is this place? You know, I'm like, maybe it's where monks are. Maybe there's a public area where I might be able to walk. You know, I didn't know what it was. And I pulled right in and talked to Astrid, and asked her if I could come here, and she told me I could take a tour. And the rest,
Yeah.
yeah.
Beautiful. No, that's great. You know, this. Elizabeth says no one comes through that gate without Baba's invitation. And there it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Excuse me, I have a question for Denine. What did you say? You didn't know you were going to find what? What was the word you used afterward? I put it in the chat, but
Community or home?
When? Just now?
3 minutes ago, I put the question in the chat, and I think obviously you're so into explanation that you wouldn't read that, but I was wondering if anybody else.
I think I said home. Does that sound right?
Your story.
Because it was so many failures that brought me, my business failed, COVID hit, it was just chaos. And I, you know, I didn't expect to find home, like where I could openly express who I am spiritually, and that no one would bat an eye. Like, you know, it was just like, you're just one of us. And I had never experienced that before. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Beautiful.
I'm assuming that it does. If that's what I mean, that's probably, it's not the word that I was expecting to hear, but if it's your word, it's your story. So thank you very much. I appreciate that.
You're welcome, Peter.
Yeah. Okay, it looks like we got somebody else up there in the,
Alan.
Hey, Jay Baba.
Jay Baba, yeah.
It's good to see everybody and not be have 102 fever like last time. That was the last time I was on here, but yeah, I think the only thing I can say is that when I first, 7 years ago, when Bob was first coming into my life, I felt that I was pretty hard-headed, and Baba, knew that I needed a lot of fireworks and sparkles and shimmering and noise and explosions in order to get my attention. So I was had a lot of, I would say, visionary experiences with Baba. And then I would say now, oh, the one thing that I was going to connect that with is that I needed that for myself, because that was my way of like, are you still here? You still care about me? Is this still happening? And so there'd be these explosions that would happen, and great visions and tears, and then I think it was after going to India last year that there was the ceiling of that time of my life with Baba, and since then it's felt that there's no difference between if I'm not even mentally thinking about him, or if I'm not feeling him, or if I'm wherever I am. There's just this awareness. There's some part of me that is still at the tomb, is still with him, and is like, whatever happens, even if I'm like in a bunch of pain or whatever it is, or a bunch of joy, there's always some part of me that's aware that I'm going to him. And so yeah, even when I don't feel him, I'm like, well, I will eventually, or there's a sort of a trust that he's there, and that I'm not interested anymore with the great visions and fantastic experiences at all. My life has become much more intensely practical, if anything, in a way that I never thought I would be this kind of person. So yeah, I just am more responsible and more practical, and I like certain things. I like doing Brazilian jiu-jitsu now, and I like I don't know, I like simple things. It's just different now with Bob, and maybe of course it'll change, but I feel grounded in his love after that experience in India.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of us feel, and you can know Baba's there, but you don't always have to feel that he's there. There's that ongoing knowing that he's there behind all of this and with us, even if we don't, necessarily feel all the the fireworks, or yeah. But good. Thank you, Alan, and love to Adrian.
Shri.
Are you still in Atlanta, Shri?
I am.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it's been I know it's been a minute. Um, but I saw this week's topic and I told myself I had to come on because truthfully, like the past few months have been kind of strange mentally. Like nothing material has happened in my life, but it's kind of like one day you wake up and you don't feel as close to Baba as you did before. And there are a lot of days where I wake up where it's hard to believe that like I had the experience that I did at the Samadhi, given like my current mental state, if that makes sense. Like it's hard to believe that I was so emotional walking into a Samadhi at one point, and I don't know if I were to walk into the Samadhi today, if I would feel the same thing. And it made me feel really bad and guilty, and I know like I shouldn't be feeling those things, but it's kind of what I felt. And that's why I didn't join these Zooms for a while, because I was like, who am I to sit here and talk about like, oh, I love Baba, when I'm honestly like feeling very lost in my relationship with him. And I know he's there, and I know the love that he has for me has not gone away. He is not closer or farther away to me in this moment than he was at the Samadhi or whenever. But I guess it's the first time since my like since I've known Baba, because I for those who don't know, I grew up in like a Hindu household, was not raised in a Baba family, and like found Baba in 2020. So in like the past 4 years, it's the first time where I felt like not connected to him in a way. And it's weird because I don't know what to do about it. I don't want to like, I've tried like praying, I've tried reading, I've tried just like being present. And I think that like connection will just come one day again, whenever it comes. And I'm not in a rush. And I know Baba is certainly not in a rush, because everything just unfolds perfectly for him. But it has been like a weird past few months. And I would love to know if anyone in this group has like dealt with that, and how you like like it makes me sad, but I don't know what to do about it, because I know he's still there, but I don't know what to like. Did I do some, I don't know, it feels like I did something wrong, but I didn't do anything. It just one day I woke up and it just didn't feel the same. But I don't know what happened. So would love to know.
You know, one thing, for over the months, I've said, gotta just invite Shri to come over here to the tomb. I felt that, you know, I'm not the tomb, to the center. You know, just come over here. You're just over in Atlanta. So if you come, I will happily pay for your stay on the center. So don't hesitate to come. But I mean, you know, but what you've gone through, everybody on this gallery has gone through with Baba. I mean, uh, even um, even Kitty, you know, was asked, Kitty Davy, some friend of mine asked her, "Do you feel Baba?" "Oh no, I haven't felt Baba in years." You know, I mean, this is like, and I have. Let's see if I can find. I have something that I don't know if I could read it, but in the meantime, we'll go ahead with.
Can I just jump in and say something?
Yeah.
All day long, we have had a day of weather where the sun was there and then it was nowhere. You couldn't see it. And we just have to trust that the sun is always there, but sometimes things get in the way. But the sun is there. And
Yeah.
that's the faith that I've developed in my elderly state.
Here's something that I wrote about, and it might be encouraging. About a little exchange with Mara back in the early 70s. And I titled it, "Love Must Be Something Different." I found that I absorbed in a very natural way many profound truths in being with the mandali. Here is one example. One deep insight came in a way that on the surface wouldn't be obvious at all, and this happened one day at Merazad with Baba's beloved Mara. It was back in the early 1970s when I was young and immature in Baba. Mara was standing on the porch of the main house saying goodbye to a young woman whose pilgrimage had come to an end. She was on her way back to the west. I was just there to say goodbye for the day before going back to Mehrabad. Mara lovingly encouraged the young woman to take Baba with her, not to worry, that Baba would take care of her. And at one point she surprised me by saying, this is Mara, sometimes we feel empty and depressed, but we know Baba wants us to be cheerful, so we make efforts to be cheerful. This made a profound impression on me. I thought to myself, she is the beloved of the beloved, and for decades she has been next to the source of all love, and yet she doesn't always experience a joyous heart full of Baba's love. I concluded then love must be something different from what I had thought. For I experienced Mara as the most loving person I had ever met, always radiating Baba's love, and yet her experience in herself was not always of that love, but could actually be of emptiness. Up to that point, I took the feeling of Baba's love in my heart as a sign that I was on the right track. Baba was with me. And when I would lose that feeling, I would agonize over what I must have done wrong. I'd struggle to get that feeling back desperately. But after this small exchange with Mara, I rarely ever worried again about how I was feeling. I never felt bad if I experienced emptiness or sunk into a low mood. I was able to see after that love was on a different track. It came from a different dimension within me. I would notice, for example, in times when I felt depressed or sad, my mood never prevented me from responding to a situation with love. Love was not dependent upon my mood or the state of my feelings, nor did my moods take away from my love. Love was independent. And after that, I didn't take it personally when I wasn't experiencing Baba's love in my heart. I would leave that up to his timing, and I would be deeply grateful when it happened. Baba once said, feelings and emotions are only the creation of energy and mind. Love is the creation of the soul. And I'll just read one last line. There's more that I said, but here, Arnavas, one of the women mandali, was complaining to Baba that she wasn't feeling him. And Baba said, I never said to feel me. I said to love me. Anyway, I don't know if that responds to
Yeah.
I mean, we've all kind of felt when we're not feeling Baba that we've done something wrong, or he's gone over to check out the people in Texas and left us alone in Atlanta. You know, but it's not, believe me, we've all experienced that. Anyway.
Thank you, Jeff. That was probably one of the best things I've heard in a while. So thank you very much.
Yeah, sure.
You know, Jeff, this is David Defoe here.
Yeah,
Hi.
yeah. Good to see you,
Oh,
David.
hi. Hi, great to see you. Hey, Shri, I just want to say that when I feel down, happens. I'm usually actually a pretty upbeat person, but when I start feeling down, Jeff, you just reminded me of it that, Baba has something that he said about cheerfulness. That I think the quote is, if you do not want to be old before your time, be cheerful in thought, word, and deed. And to be cheerful is a service to others. I mean, paraphrase. And I have to say that, when I'm feeling down, when you're feeling down, you're kind of focused on yourself. But I've just noticed over time, I remember that quote of Baba, and I'll just be walking somewhere and I'll say, hey, hi, just hi to someone, or good evening. And actually, I was just in Mexico, and everything's like buenas tardes, buenas noches, everything. And it's so sweet just to have like a cheerful interaction with a stranger, you know, at checkout, just to joke about some little thing. And these types of things bring me out of myself. And Baba has said, and I don't know that I've ever heard any other spiritual personality or say this, that being cheerful for others is a form of service. And I think it's a profound form of service.
Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah. No. And Mara even said that Baba asked us to be cheerful, so we make efforts to be cheerful. I was just surprised, like I say. How could Mara feel that way? But it's how, that's how she feels about herself, even though she's unaware. Like, Shri, you radiate warmth and love, but you don't get to necessarily benefit from that. Sometime you do, but someone would say, no, you have that great warmth, but there's Mara radiating such love, and yet she's not feeling it. How unbelievable is that? Anyway, but do come to the center.
I will.
You don't go visit your brother. Just come to the center.
No, I'm
Have
long
your brother
overdue
come to the
for.
center. Meet him there.
I'm long
Okay.
overdue for a visit, so I'll come soon.
Okay.
Rich. I'm really grateful you spoke up, Shri. I was going to ask you to speak up when I raised my hand the first time. It was so weird that you did that. But anyway, Jeff's exactly right. I've been to the center and I live, in the middle of the country. And so every time I've gone to the center, it's a credit card debt. So I just keep paying the interest. But I've had fabulous experiences on the center, but I think the center is really about Baba scrubbing some more of those sanskaras off of you slowly as you go back to life. It's like I never went anywhere after the center. I went directly back home. Just like Baba said, when you come to me, go straight back home. Don't mess with anything else. Don't be a tourist, because he's got work for you to do in your own life where you live. So you're young. You've got a lot of stuff that you have to go through to mature. And I studied Hindu astrology as a novice, right? But I love it. It's so much fun. To me, it's like looking at sanskars, but I'm not sure what I do with it. But anyway, the whole purpose of that stuff and the way I do it is way different than Hindus. But I think at the age of about 28, they call it the Saturn return. It's really 29. But it's often when people really mature. They come of age after the Saturn return, when you're headed. So you're headed there. But then the other thing I wanted to comment on was I know that the first time I went to the center, I had absolutely nothing. And I wrote to India, and Adi K said, I would be there on this date. And so I finally showed up. I took a 24-hour bus ride. That was it. I think I had $20 in a backpack, and got kicked off the center. But I made a connection with Adi just by watching him. And so when I got back to Denver, my life started to change. And I think that's what happens. You can't control your relationship with Baba. I don't know how you do it. I can't. I think I'm mature enough now to where I've realized what Denine was saying. As a soul in this world, I have no hope. Forget it. Forget it. It's God, Avatar Meher Baba, is the only reality we have. That's it. And when you get desperate enough or have enough longing, he's right there on your doorstep all the time. Anyway, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Rich. Okay, we're going again to Colorado. They're dominating the place.
Yeah, we like to dominate here. So I was going to say, as Shreen was talking, it made me think about longing, which Rich just brought up. But I know I have run across and read and feel like within myself, when we have these moments where we may not be down in ourselves exactly, but we're feeling that Baba's not quite present with us in the way we most that feels most satisfying, I should say. Like for me, feels most satisfying to me when I have those tears of connection, or just feel like I've said something's been said through me, and clearly it must have been Baba. But there's that. Doesn't Darwin talk about it, Jeff? Talk about longing.
Longing
In
and
effort and
gratitude.
grace. Pardon
Yeah,
me?
a lot about longing and
Yeah,
gratitude.
exactly. I mean, so we can't long unless we miss him. At least that's my experience. I can't long for him unless I'm missing him. You know, absence makes the hearts grow fonder, kind of thing. But yeah, so I'm so glad you said what you did, Shri, because it's awakening within me that realization. Because I mean, I can go through what you're talking about in the course of the day, connecting, not connecting, connecting, not connecting, and reaching out but not feeling, you know, and or maybe a week or whatever, and or a longer period of time, months it can be. But if I'm just reminding myself as I'm saying it to you that what that time is about. It's time to really long for him. And that longing for him, I think within myself, it deepens my capacity for him to be with me. The bigger my longing, the deeper my longing, the more space there is within me to feel his presence when he does decide to make himself more visible again.
Beautiful, beautifully said. Wow.
Alan?
Hey, yeah, that's a really helpful question for me to reflect on as well. And I have two things to say. The first is that often I will, as of lately, listen to any number of the mandali speak on mandali hall talks. And I think that's really important. It's helpful for, I mean, for me, it's my opinion, but it's really helpful to like hear Erich and hear whoever, you know, Darwin, and just get sort of in the resonance, even in my car or at work if I can, on a break or something, and just try to listen to them and get some of that fragrance, a reminder of it, because it's always there, obviously. But and the second thing I was going to say is that there's this quote from Baba that I believe he told to Kitty, and he said something along the lines at first of like, if you're thinking of thoughts that are like, I'm having such a bad day today, I feel so depressed, everything's going wrong, like I don't understand why this keeps happening, I don't like, the more that we go into those thoughts, the more that we're empowering that. So it's a reality of like, we can change our perspective. And then he said to Kitty, who was doing such thing in the 1940s, he said to her, just tell yourself, and this is the exact quote, he said, I'm meant to be happy, to make others happy. All is well and beautiful. I will be happy. And so when I read that, I started experimenting. I was like, let me try that in the midst of my daily job and intensity. And I have people often yelling at me for my work, and I have a lot of intense interactions, a lot of people wanting to, I'm in property management, so there's a lot of like back and forth. And lately, in the midst of like looking at someone who's just rage is coming through their eyes, or like I'm just feeling like I just want to scream. I want to scream. I will just think of a quote and I'll be like, I am meant to be happy, to make others happy. All is well and beautiful. And I just will really try to focus my mind into that point, and something happens. It's not always like miraculous, but there's something to that, that perspective, the shifting of the perspective, And but I like what you were sharing about, you know, having that trust that that Baba is there and it will be all right, and he loves you very much. And I think it's very sweet that Jeff. I would take Jeff up on that offer to stay at the center. It's such a beautiful. I'm not sure if you have been there, but if you haven't, it's such a beautiful place. Yeah, and I wish you all the best with that, J. Bob.
Yeah. Thank you, Alan. And yeah, she's been here. And the scene of the crime, as Baba called it. He did. He called it the scene of the crime. The bloodhounds have to be brought back to pick up the scent before they go out to get the fugitives. Okay.
Marianne?
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I'm going to say how I answer some of the questions, a few of them. I'm going to try to do it fast. So I would say when I came to Baba, it was, whoops. Oh, I'm sorry, I lost the screen. Oh, I'm sorry, I lost the screen. When I came to Baba, it was very fast. Now, this was back October 1968, so I won't go into all the details what brought me to that. But anyway, that was New York City, and there was the honeymoon period where I met all these other Baba followers. Now, I was separated from my husband. I had a 4-year-old daughter and an 8-month-old son. So I couldn't run around. I had very little money of my own, so I couldn't run all around and go every week to the Baba meetings. But I went to, I met people. I went to as much as I could. And then, so there was that honeymoon period. And then when that sort of my life moved along where I had to develop my careers more and my kids started growing up more. Now, I don't remember saying Baba's name a lot. I don't remember like now really being with the repeating of name and doing provisional ego. I didn't even know about provisional ego back then. But anyway, I knew Baba was the core of my life. That I knew beyond anything. Then, because I had to study to help other people, I developed a counseling practice. So I had to do a lot of, it was transformational counseling, mental. So I had to look at the mental body. What am I thinking? What are my beliefs? Then I had to look at physical, the emotion self, the energy field. What's clogging my energy field? What's not working in my life? I was faced with all of that. And then the physical. The physical is the last stage. It's first, mental, energy, physical. So I had to develop all these tools. I'm so grateful because that's what I rely on I call it a lot of tools in my toolbox. And Baba has in the discourses, we're here to bring our unconscious to consciousness. So it means looking at my outer life as a reflection of what's in my unconscious. If things aren't going right in a certain area of my life, what's my belief? What are my feelings about all that? And what do I do to release it and turn everything over to Baba? Now, I read where Baba said, once you get to the point of admitting and telling and turning it to Baba, you can let it go, and it automatically starts transforming. But it means me having groundedness in these ways, these tools, what I call the toolbox. So then anyway, as time goes on, now I find, because Bob also talks about in the discourses, when we're in duality, it's first like happiness or unhappiness. We're sort of jogging back and forth, and then comes happiness and unhappiness, pain and pleasure. It's in the discourses. How can I hold both equally? I cannot do that alone. I need help. I need counselors. I need therapists. I need spiritual people meditating with me. It takes a lot of tools to hold both equally. Life and death, pain and pleasure, happiness and unhappiness, and on down the line, grief and joy. So when you're held equally, then they start coming together, and it's the gateway to the unitive state. There's no way around it besides holding them both equally. So I need a lot of support for that. So I'm always looking for that. And one of my favorite prayers to Baba is, what support do I need for XYZ? Rather than what do I need to do? I need to give up trying to do it all and surrender to Baba. What support do I need? So anyway, I went through all that, and now it feels like I've lost everything. My kids grow up, my grandchildren grow up, my career's over. It's like I tell Baba, I've lost everything in my life. I've lost everything. And then because I do my meditations, I clear out my emotion body. I hear, and Baba usually speaks to me in English when I get quiet, not when I'm busy. And the two main things I hear is, you belong to me and you are mine. So when I feel left out, a lot of my friends have died. I don't have a lot of newer close friends, but about 30 years ago, a Baba follower gave me a picture of Baba that I keep hanging on a shelf by my computer with this quote, which affected me very much. Love the one in the many, not the many in the one. I'm the only friend who will never let you down. So when I have expectations of people, it's in my face and it's painful. And then I have to go about a process. Thank goodness I have a lot of processes to release that person or people or anyone of who I've made into my authority. And so that only Baba remains as my authority. So for me, and I'm not speaking, this is not advice. I have to do a lot of work, a lot of emotional work. I have to do a lot of processing. So I'm grateful for the tools I have in my toolbox so that I can do that. So that's the key, unconscious to conscious, and let it all go. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you. Yeah. And you're in a good place. I know you. I mean, the one thing that as you get older and everything, after many years with Baba, is the gratefulness starts to set in.
Yeah.
You know, what? How could this life? How could I have had this life? Everybody's kind of a lot. So many people in the world are aimless and lost and everything, and we have something solid and real throughout the day. What?
Yeah.
It's just amazing.
And, oh, and I've learned so much about my personality because I teach this. You know, Baba said the avatar comes with the triad nature of knowledge, power, bliss. So on the human level, we do too. So on the human level, this, and Baba said the psychological is also spiritual. We need to go into the psychological aspects. And in the psychological, we have defenses that we make in the individualized sphere of consciousness that is the psychological. And there are traumas, psychological traumas that we had as kids, and they get buried in the unconscious. So in that, in bringing them up, it's like they have to all come up. And so we all have a predominant one. So the defense system is reason, will, and emotion. Those are the distortions of knowledge, power, bliss. So what is my dominant one? Emotion. And so what do I have to do is learn all about that, all the aspects of my personality defense. And one of them is being the good girl. So when I complain, Baba smiles because I'm releasing the unconscious of the complainer who was not allowed to complain as a kid. So that's the psychological. And so in my to-do list every day goes complaining sessions. So I go in and get out my hitting bat and I tell Baba, I'm now going to complain about whatever. And then after I do that, and I'm trained in core energetics, so when I didn't know how to do it healthfully, is then I feel Baba smiling, I'm smiling. It had nothing to do with anything, anybody who triggered me. It has nothing to do with anyone else. But on the psychological level, I blame others. I tell others they aren't showing up the way I want. So that work is very vital for those of us, especially on that more emotional level.
Yeah. Excellent.
Amen. I'm finished. Okay.
Yeah.
Dorney? Okay. So about not feeling Baba present, I was going to share something, and then something came to mind. During the 3 incredible weeks, the men were kind of in a circle around Baba, and as I recall, Baba asked them for a moment to close their eyes and to picture him. And I may be getting this wrong, but this is as I remember it. And after a few minutes, Baba, clapped for them to open their eyes. And they asked them what their experience was. And one of them, and they were to remember Baba with their eyes closed in his presence. And so Baba said, how did it go? And one of them, I'm not sure, said, it comes and goes. And Baba said, you come and go. I'm always there. And that was kind of summed up what I was going to share. When I feel that disconnect from Baba, I'm really conscious. It's because I ask myself, how is it that at the moment I'm really absorbed in myself, really absorbed in my ego worries or concerns, absorbed with my some emotional situation, and it's my guideline to get back into Baba's presence because my awareness is there. He's always there. I'm not. so that's one thing I look for. The other thing I wanted to share is totally off topic, but we have someone finally helping us clean this house, coming like twice a month, and I found that she found a photo album of mine and put it in a neat place. And I opened it up, and there were two pictures that leapt out at me from India in August of 1996 when Mani passed. And the first that surprised me, it's a cute picture. The little girl is my daughter, and that's Mansari. And I think that's Judy Robertson, who I didn't really know. So where is my daughter? There she is. So I just got such a kick out of it because my daughter is not particularly in relationship with Baba consciously these days. But then I turned the page and I was really shocked to see this guy.
Oh my God.
I said, that can't be the same guy, is he? Is it? But then I saw this and I figured, well, this is not the same guy either. No. But that's all, just
fantastic.
For the fun of it. And I thank Baba because what a great treat that was to see that after all these years.
Hey, so we're coming down. I mean, it's getting late and everything. God, we could have gone on. Most people could have checked in about it, but we could probably do this another time as well, But so, Denine, you're the last stop on this journey.
I just wanted to address Shri for a minute. I wanted to say that somewhere along my travels, I read that sometimes God puts a veil between us and him so that we can learn to love him without without the honeymoon, without all the bells and whistles, without the big feelings. And that it's kind of meant, and one piece of work that we can do during that time is learn how to foster relationship. Like, how can you talk to him? Maybe you can write to him, how can you foster that relationship? Because that's what he most wants, is a relationship. And that's our work. And so I was just going to mention that the distancing sometimes is for us.
Yeah, beautiful. It's Erich would say a game of hide and seek that goes on, that he plays with us. So I'm going to read a final poem by Rumi, and then we can have a few moments of silence. And this is, it's called A Mine of Rubies, M-I-N-E. Last night I learned how to be a lover of God, to live in this world and call nothing my own. I looked inward, and the beauty of my own emptiness filled me till dawn. It enveloped me like a mine of rubies. Its hue clothed me in red silk. Within the cavern of my soul, I heard the voice of my beloved crying, Drink now, drink now. I took a sip and saw the vast ocean before me. Wave upon wave caressed my soul. The lovers of God danced around, and the circle of their steps became a ring of fire around my neck. Heaven calls me with its rain and thunder, 100,000 cries, yet I cannot hear. All I hear is the call of my beloved. Heaven calls me with its rain and thunder, 100,000 cries, yet I cannot hear. All I hear is the call of my beloved. Jai Baba. There's another quote that's been circulating around of Baba's where he says, I tell you, don't worry, be happy. Why? Because I know the ending, and the ending is beautiful. It just, you got to wait it out. That's the damn thing about it.
Jack,
Yeah.
I just want to add one thing. It'll be very brief, but I'm reminded of about Mother Teresa of Calcutta. And the thing I'm just reminded of her is that, of course, when she was young, she had this beautiful honeymoon with Christ. But she later said, you know, after the honeymoon, I really didn't feel him. I'm paraphrasing. I don't remember the exact quote she said, but he said after the honeymoon, you know, as far as that bliss, it was like my husband was absent. Yet here she is. She saw Christ and the person dying on the sidewalk and helped them, and, you know, picked up one person, brought it into her room and took care of it. And that's how the whole thing started. And she just told her nuns to love until it hurts. Yet she complained that she wasn't feeling anything inwardly anymore. So,
Yeah, in
I don't
fact,
know.
they almost withheld sainthood from her because she didn't feel Jesus, you know. But like I say, Kitty said the same thing. I haven't felt Baba in years. It's, it's, I mean, yeah, it's not necessarily a measure of whether you're loving, whether you feel it. That's the. I mean, sure, we'd like to feel the love. I mean, who wouldn't? I mean, it's. But Erich said it. I once said to Erich, you know, people would come before Baba and they would be so overpowered, and they would fall. You know, they would pass out and everything like that. What did you feel in Baba's presence? You know, what did you experience? He says, you mean, did I feel the vibes? I said, yeah. He used our vernacular. He said, I didn't feel a thing. I said, you didn't feel a thing? I mean, he said, yeah. I mean, you mean Baba was just like an ordinary person to you? And he said, yeah. I mean, that's incredible. But how much love he had, and he poured out and showered on us and everything, and he didn't. And here's the thing. Oh, here's another thing. Dan Ladinsky, my old roommate and buddy, he once said to Erich, most of you have heard this, you know, you mandali, you take a nip now and then. And Erich said, what do you mean by that? And you take a shot of his bliss. What makes you say that, Danny? Well, I see it sometimes in the eyes of the mandali. And Erich said, brother, we are the chalices that hold the beloved's wine. Others may come and help themselves, but for us, we never take a drop. You know, they're radiating the love, but they won't take a drop. Because if they take a drop, then they become important. I am taking a drop, you know. They don't. They want to kind of. But this is like PhD Baba. I mean, I'm not telling you don't do this until it happens gradually, in its time. But another time, Eric said, if I started drinking, so to speak, I would become like a must. He said to Danny, I would be on the ground in the dust, rolling in ecstasy. And he would be of no use to Baba to be able to serve him. I mean, that's a form of service on the ground there, but Baba needed a different kind of service from Erich. Tony.
Yes, about Erich saying Baba playing hide and seek with us. It's, I guess, shortly after Kenmore died. It's coming into June and July, maybe June of 71. And I had a dream of Baba, and it was this big field and with these really small, these trees that were just like poles, like it had no growth on them practically. It was just these poles. And I saw Baba behind one of them, and I ran over and I saw him. I could get a glimpse of him, but I ran and I saw him, and then he disappeared behind the tree. Now, Baba's about this wide, and the tree was about this wide, but he hid behind it. So then I went around from the other side, and then I caught him again, and he disappeared behind the next tree, and they were all so tiny, and he was, Baba 1960s Baba. So around this time, Larry Green asked if he said he was going down to the center, and he asked if I'd like to come with him. He would drive us down. And he invited Elaine also, who was in the group. And so we took a nice long ride. He was the only driver. I brought my guitar. We sang Baba songs all the way down. And I guess an hour before the center was, maybe, we're in North Carolina. And I looked out the window, and there was that field of those trees. I don't know. I've seen them before. It's a tree that apparently is there. And there was that whole field with all these little holes. And I saw Bob then hiding behind all of them just before my first arrival at the center.
Beautiful. He just does these things. It must be so fun for him to watch. It's like when on the center when we have these Easter egg hunts, and just to see the kids running around, finding this egg and that egg, it must be like the same version with us adults. These little moments. Yeah. Well, Marta, anything to say there?
I just have one thing to say. Thank you, Baba, for everything you give and everything you take away.
Yeah.
That covers it.
Yeah. Yeah. Any other small change?
Hey, Jeff.
Yeah.
Could you tell that story of, you were mentioning about that one time there was a gentleman who came to Monterey Hall. I don't know if it was Monterey Hall, but Erich was there, and he was being a little bit gruff with Erich, and you guys were kind of younger, and you're all looking over at him like, somebody get this guy out of here. But just the way that, I just wanted to hear the way that Erich handled that.
Yeah, Erich is Mandali Hall, and tell these very touching stories, not just about Baba, but other lives of saints. And there was one guy there that who obviously didn't, buy into the whole thing. At the end of a story that Erich would tell when we'd be moved, this guy would make a little sarcastic remark, or kind of, like it could be a coincidence or whatever. And, you know, and day after day, I mean, mayor's day after mayor's day, this guy would make these little sarcastic, snide remarks after Eric told these beautiful stories that we were all touched by. And the Westerners are about ready to strangle this guy. You know, I mean, like, if you don't want to be here and listen to this, what are you doing in here? That's the way we think. But so after about a couple of weeks of this, Eric had told this moving story, and this guy came out with his usual remark. And Eric looked at him and said, "Your remarks frighten me." Who says anything like that? Your remarks frighten me. And he never did it again. He got a mirrored reflection of what sarcasm does to the human heart. Even though Eric was fearless, but he's describing what those remarks do to the heart. Our thing would have been, your remarks piss us off, you know, and that wouldn't have, he would have just gotten probably more defensive. So some of the responses, the counter responses that I witnessed in Eric were coming from a different vocabulary altogether, a different language. Yeah.
Yeah, I just have to say that just listening to the different mandali, I could hear in some of the talks that there was, you know, some people that would come in, maybe, I don't know where they were in their life, but the way that they were talking, just, you know, as in a terms of like respect to speaking to like an elder, you know, or somebody, you know, it's like, or to anybody, it was like that there was, for example, of somebody that spoke to Padre, and I wouldn't even think, I mean, I was like, who would, what? I was just listening to it like, what is going on with this guy? He was having an argument, sort of a slow building argument. I could tell he was getting more angry. And he was like, you can't tell me that Baba's saying, you know, taking off your shoes, or you guys taking off your shoes is like not religious. Like that's religious. Like that's, how are you going to say that's not a ritual? And Padre was not trying. He was just naturally speaking, and his voice was getting louder. And then it got to a point where the guy was very obviously upset. Obviously, he was like, he said something, and he was just like, maybe it's because you're all dumb or something. It's just like said something like really strong, and I expected Padre to be like, you get down, you know, like just get the, you know, he giggled, and it's like I could feel it through the thing. Like he giggled, and he got really soft, and he said, when we were with Baba, he would hammer us, he would destroy us. And he just went to like this description of Baba hammering them. And I don't know how he did it, but it's like you said, Jeff, it's like, just where did he come up with that? He just came in from some other place and dispelled the conversation into just, you know, back to the love. It was just back to, I could feel just like the whole room. And for me too, I was like, oh God. And the guy's response, he just was like, oh, well, that makes sense. It was just, he was like, he didn't even, you could tell he just didn't even, no, it wasn't Gary Kleiner. No, but Gary was, I mean, I heard some wild conversations with Gary, but no, it was somebody else who was visiting. He was like he's like, oh, you come for the day, huh? And he was like, and he was like just there for the day. Just there for the day, but no, it was just an example of the beauty.
Here's a little story. I think some of you heard it, but you know, Bao used to say, and you may have gotten it from Bob, but there are three types of persons. One is like a peach. It's soft on the outside and there's the pit in the middle. Then there's a nut that's hard on the outside but soft in the middle. And then a grape that's soft on the outside and soft on the inside. Erich and Mani were kind of like a grape, but Padre was like a nut, you know, hard on the outside and soft in the middle. And so this is a guy named Tom Fortson told me this. a guy had come overland all the way through Afghanistan and, you know, whatever, Iran, all that, made it to India, and he was like disheveled. His hair was scraggly and his clothes were dirty. And he shows up at Lower Mehrabad and says, I want to go to the tomb of the Avatar. And Tom's, you know, indicates you just go up the hill there. But then he felt like he should maybe accompany guys. So Tom is going up the hill with this guy, and Padre is coming down, and they meet about halfway. The Padre was a very stunning, striking, tall, lean guy. And they get within about 20 feet of each other, and Padre says, is this the way you dress when you come to the tomb of the Avatar? And the guy says, I don't let anybody tell me how I dress when I go to the tomb of the Avatar. And Padre looks at Tom and says, I like this guy. That, you know, is just there you have it. He cracked the nut.
Jeff, there's a story in Erico's, I think it's Erico's book, and it's about one time a really vicious guy came to Lord Mehrabad. You might be able to tell the story better than me, but Padre had to go out and encounter him. And this guy was like 3 times the size of any normal guy. And he was destroying things. You know, he was very destructive, very negative. And Padre just took him down. I think he knocked him out or something. But
He had a whip.
Did he? Was that?
Yeah.
Oh.
And this guy gave him a couple of slaps, and boy, scared the heck out of this guy. This monstrous guy. Yeah. No.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, well, we better pick up our tent and head off. Nice to see you.
Hey, Jeff.
There. Yeah, go ahead.
Can I just share one thing about that? It's wonderful that you mentioned that story, Rich, because that's exactly I was just thinking of that story, and then you said it out loud. And I remember reading that story, and I actually the guy there's a detail of the guy having a blade, and Padre, you know, getting his whip and walking over there, and Erico not knowing, like, am I gonna have to jump in and like fight this guy, like to protect Padre? Like I'm the young guy in the scenario here, but I don't think I can protect Padre. So Padre goes out in the field where this guy is, and this guy basically makes a slash or something at Padre, but he's so precisioned with his whips that he at first takes off one piece of clothing, and then he hits him in another spot, and he hits him in another spot, and then he hits him to a point where he knocks out the blade or something like that, and he gets him to a point where the guy realizes if he gets another strike, he's going to die. And so he looks up and he says something, I think along the lines of like, God, or he just looks up, and there's this moment where the guy is sort of surrendering to God, like, I'm going to die now. And Padre, you know, just tells him to go away. And the part that I just started bawling when I was reading that, because the part that blew me away was that Padre wrapped up his whip, and then he's walking off, and he tells Erico, come on, let's go, you know, finish up the work over here or something. And he picks up this beautiful flower and he hands it to him. And he says something like, isn't this spectacular? And he hands it to Erico. Like he just was back in the moment, you know, like just nothing happened. There's just beautiful about that. Yeah, Jai Baba.
Yeah, they were able to handle tremendous intensity and not even get phased. Yeah. Hey, well, anyway, great to see all of you, and I hope you go on to succeed in your lives. And
Jeff, can't we just spend the night together, all of us?
Wow. No, this is, I hear from people how much Zoom, not necessarily these sessions, but how much it has made a difference in their life, because they had no connection with any Baba groups and everything, and it's really been immensely helpful.
Oh, well.
I,
Well,
in
I,
all these different venues.
I spoke to Angela after my talk because I wanted to make sure that this little bit that had seemingly gotten cut off at the end, and to make sure that she didn't delete it because the actual end of the story came in the last 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And she said, no, I'm the one who does that, and I never delete anything except on rare occasions. Like recently, we had someone fell asleep, and there was 6 hours of snoring on the recording.
Yeah.
We could stay the night here as long as everyone stays awake.
Yeah, there have been a few. One person was picking their nose but making noise so that they came up on the screen. I had her kind of delete that. But yeah. Yeah. Anyway, good. Yeah. Mayor
Jeff,
Christoph.
Jeff, there's one other thing I want to say, and
Yeah.
it's not just to Shri, but I think it's to all of us. You've told the story before that when you're not thinking about Baba, you're thinking about that you're not thinking about Baba. So it might not be the way you imagine God to be dealing with you. It's abyssal, it's a little passive aggressive. But I think it's leading us in a way of deeper understanding. We just aren't there yet. So it's kind of in the muckiness. But I've missed you.
One thing though, raise your hand if you think Shri should go to come to the center within the next couple of months.
Yes, 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 yes.
I don't need this group to
No
convince
brainer.
me. I will be there on my own.
What?
I said I don't need the group to convince me. I will be there on my own. I miss it a lot. It's
Yeah. There's one lady that came who's here at the center now, but she's got a couple trips back. She as she was leaving, she's from Portland, Oregon, and as she was leaving, one of her friends said, "What do you do at that center?" She said, "You don't have to do a thing. It takes you all day to do it, and you barely have time to get it done." And someone added, "And you go to sleep exhausted." It's a place you don't have to do anything here. No, nothing to attend. You know, no seva, nothing mandatory.
Lastly, that also, what do you do when you go to Mirabad? What is
Yeah.
there to do?
The same thing.
Yeah.
You don't have to do a thing, and yet you feel like God. I actually feel when I'm in India like, gee, I just didn't have time to get everything done, and I wasn't even doing anything. What's happening is kind of outside our radar, what Bob is doing. So something's going on, but you're not a part of you're not over there micromanaging it because you can't get to it, but something is happening. That's deep. Yeah. Anyway, we better, it's really, I mean, some of these people, they usually go to bed about 7:30 at night. So they're way beyond. Anyway, Jay, Baba, nice to see you. Nice to see you, David. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank
Jim.
you.
Thank you.
Oh,
Jeff.
yeah. Oh,
Thank you, Baba.
Nasreen. We can't read. We can't leave until Nasreen.
That's J Baba.
Yes. Avatar, Meher, Baba, DJ.
DJ.
Avatar,
Meher Baba.
Avatar, Meher, Baba, DJ. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Okay, good.
Happy New Nawaz.
Yeah.
Happy News. Thank you. Yeah, we just had, gathering at the Baba Center and lots of fun, dancing, music, and singing, everything. Wonderful.
And Nasreen's voice is a little like Mara's voice.
Oh my goodness.
It has that quality.
Oh,
but it's with a Persian accent, of course.
Thank you, Jeff. Oh my God, you made my night.
No, There's a sweetness. There's a sweetness about it.
Thank you so much. But we're going to see you soon in Myrtle Beach.
Oh, good. Okay.
We're coming at 21st. 21st.
See, all sorts of people are coming.
Oh, really? Yeah. Is it the weather is good that time?
Oh,
Yeah. This is the best time of year.
Oh,
One of the
wonderful.
best times. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you. We're looking forward to that.
Okay. Jai Baba, everybody.
Baba,
Thank you.
thank you very much.
Yeah. Jai Baba.
Thank you. Jai Baba. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Thank you, guys.